All right. Hello and welcome to the episode today. So today is the start of OCD Awareness Week. My name is Matt Cotty and I'm a licensed clinical social worker and I'm the founder of Restored Minds. And this is an important week and a special week, because the primary scope of the work that I do involves people who wrestle with OCD, and I myself struggle with OCD for a long time when I was, in my kind of late teens, early 20s. And, for OCD Awareness Week, there's a lot of thoughts about what we can do to support the cause of getting people who struggle with OCD help, right? Now, a lot of that usually comes into the idea of educating, right? The idea of saying, hey, look, like, this is what OCD is, and helping other people understand OCD and understanding what it's like to live with OCD and understanding the struggles. All of that is great, and I fully support that mission. But today on this episode, what I want to really do is just talk about OCD awareness from an individual level. And the reason is because at Restored Minds, like we really operate from the philosophy that healing comes from within, right? And in order to really help people become aware of OCD, the first place we have to start is within ourselves. And while a lot of people understand what it's like to struggle with OCD, and there's millions and millions of people out there struggling with OCD today, we're here to support you with that. I mean, and the great news about it is that you really can get better and you really can take back control of your life with the right tools and education. And so what I want to talk about today is just kind of a little bit about understanding from an individual level, like, hey, look, like, what does OCD really look like from an individual level? And what are some common fears that may manifest? Because what happens with most people, the reason that it takes most people, I think on average, about 7 years before they finally get help with OCD is just because they don't know they have OCD, right? So what I want to talk about in this particular episode is just the idea of like, okay, well, like, how can you spot OCD, right? Because the one thing about OCD is that it never like says it's OCD. Right? It always presents itself as a separate issue, a presenting issue. And so if you're family members or, as an individual, you wrestle with certain things, once we become aware as individuals of what we're really wrestling with, that helps us actually get to the right, once we understand the problem correctly, then we're able to make the right changes and really start to heal as individuals, which ultimately helps heal relationships and communities and, as big as it goes, right, with societies in the world, right? But it starts at an individual level. So when I was struggling with OCD, one of the themes that I had struggled with was the idea of scrupulosity, right? The idea of worrying about going to hell, worrying about getting possessed, worrying about salvation, stuff like that, right? So naturally, like, what would happen is these intrusive thoughts would come up in my mind. And, well, what if I lose my salvation? What if this happens? What if I did this? What if in the past? And these what if thoughts would start popping up, right? And this is what OCD looks like. And this is what I mean about being aware as individuals, is a lot of us aren't aware that we struggle with these patterns or these loops because we don't see them as that. We don't, like I said, OCD will never say it's OCD, right? So these thoughts started coming up, and these thoughts scared me. I got a lot of fear, but naturally, I didn't go to an OCD specialist. I mean, I was like, well, I have a salvation problem or a hell problem or, a religious problem, right? So where did I go? Well, I went to churches, naturally. Right? It makes sense. It made sense to me back then, right? And I would do, religious behaviors. I would pray. I'd read the Bible, right? I would do these compulsive routines to try to neutralize my fear. Because I thought that the content that I was afraid of was the problem, right? Meaning the theme that I was afraid of, the idea of hell or the idea of salvation or getting possessed, right? I thought that was the problem. And this is what I mean when I say OCD awareness is OCD will never OCD will never say it's OCD. It will always say the theme that the person is struggling with. So, I once heard a metaphor A friend and another therapist of mine, Chris, explained, said this once, and just to give credit where credit's due, he's like, you got to think of OCD like an engine, and it's this engine that runs, and the color the car is just that's just what you see on the outside. And yeah, so like OCD, it can manifest into religious fears. It can manifest into health fears, right? What if I get cancer? What if I get disease, right? It can manifest into contamination fears. What if I get germs on me? What if I get sick? It can manifest into relationships, right? What if this person leaves me? What if this isn't really love? What if I don't, what if I leave them one day? It can manifest into our intimate life, right? With sexuality, intrusive sexual thoughts, questioning our sexuality, right? Doubting our sexuality, right? It can manifest into harmful intrusive thoughts. I mean, the list and list and list goes on and on and on. And what I wanted to talk about today with OCD Awareness Week is really becoming aware individually, if this is something you wrestle with, like how much you actually wrestle with it. A lot of us kind of like to compartmentalize our OCD, right, or our anxiety. I mean, let's just open it up to our idea of mental health in general, right? We like to compartmentalize the things that we want to look at, and everything else we kind of like, let's sweep this under the rug. Let's push this one under the rug. And so what will happen is that we might be willing to address certain themes. We might be willing to address a certain fear, but then, I don't really want to touch this one, And what we got to understand is this wheel of OCD works in a loop. And the more behaviors we engage in, the faster that loop spins, the more thoughts we have, the higher the anxiety goes, the more behaviors we engage in, and the more eventually it takes over our life. And when I say takes over our life, what I mean is that we're operating in this high intensity of survival state. And we're trying to resolve our theme, in whatever way we can, whether it's with our health or our religion or intrusive thoughts or contamination or somatic symptoms, right? Whatever that fear is, what happens is we get so consumed with trying to resolve that theme, as opposed to looking at OCD as a whole, we get caught on the theme. And then it ends up damaging our relationships. It ends up impacting our work, our school life. It ends up, preventing us from going on trips or even leaving the house at certain points, right? It can get to the point where we become agoraphobic. And the world just looks like this incredibly dangerous thing. And the thing is when we're reacting out of fear, we aren't really being ourselves, right? Like, we are so out of tune with who we are as individuals, in fact, that the people that even know us don't even know the real us. And what I see happen again and again, the more and more we really become aware of all the different ways that OCD can manifest, all the ways it really impacts us, and we're really honest about all the behaviors we actually engage in to neutralize fear and anxiety and OCD. What happens is once we really take that inventory, we really get a real clear picture of just how much this really controls our day-to-day life. Like, that was the thing that I had to do, right? I had to get really clear on, like, look, where's all the OCD stuff in my life? Where's all the fear and anxiety? What are the intrusive thoughts that I really struggle with in every category? Not just the ones that I feel okay talking about, right? Or the ones that I feel like that I know are OCD. Like, let's really look at the entire picture of my mental health. Right? Social anxiety, right? It's like panic attacks, right? Depression, right? Like, let's look at the whole picture. And so when we talk about the idea of OCD awareness, like, I think it's great to get the message out. And I fully support the message of helping people understand what OCD is and what it's like to live with that. Very powerful. But as individuals, what's even beyond a step beyond that is, yes, it's great for people to be aware about the things we're struggling with, but what are we doing to address them? Instead of just succumbing to the idea of saying, hey, I'm going to live with this, right? And I'm just going to, I'm going to survive day to day to day. It's like, you don't have to do that. You can get better. I mean, I've done it, and I know thousands of other people that have as well. You really can take your life back if you understand the problem correctly and have the right tools that you're applying. And because when you understand that OCD is not a theme problem, it's not actually a problem about one's religion or one's health or one's love life or relationship or whatever theme that they're caught on. It really is a wheel, a mechanism that one gets caught in. And once you understand that, once you start to focus on the real problem of OCD as opposed to the theme you're caught on, that right there is how people start to really get better. Is to understand the problem differently, right? Which, of course, starts with awareness. And what I want to talk about today is really getting aware as individuals how much this really impacts us. Because it sounds great to, make our loved ones aware. Hey, you need to understand this because, I need you to understand what I'm dealing with, right? Like that's kind of in some ways the philosophy, which again is good. It's important for people to understand you. But again, what we don't want to do is displace responsibility of our own recovery onto someone else, or have our loved ones act in any kind of accommodating way that paradoxically reinforces the loop and makes us worse. This is why I come back again and again and again to the idea of individual responsibility and individual awareness. Because when we start there, that's the ultimate place for healing right there. Your boss being aware that you have OCD, there may be an element to that can be helpful, sure. But remember, if anyone acts in any kind of way that accommodates your fear or reinforces your fear, that builds that loop, right? And yes, there are plenty of people that I've had conversations with in my life where I've told them about, I've told them about my struggle with OCD. And when I was really struggling with OCD, I never told anyone. And after, I've entered into the recovery stages, I have been more transparent about it. In fact, I talk about it on, videos online now, which I never thought I would do, right? In this video or this episode is a really good example, right? But, becoming aware of a problem is the first step to everything, is the first step to recovery. And so for OCD Awareness Week, what I want to do is I really want to help promote individual awareness in a more in-depth individual awareness. Because while it's important to have our loved ones and family members understand OCD so they understand how to support us, it's more important for us to become individually aware of every aspect of fear in our life in any way that we reinforce it, because that's the only way that we can truly heal. And when we're willing to address within, like everything within, like that's where real turning points start. And at Restored Minds, like we believe in restoration. We believe in the body and brain's ability to heal. And more importantly, when you really are willing to address your fears head on and use the tools that are available now, you really can take your life back, and you really can achieve levels of health that maybe you think are impossible. And just because you think they're impossible doesn't mean they are. It just means that's where you are right now on your journey. And so this week is obviously an important week, and you're, however you feel you want to engage in this week is totally your journey. That may be having a conversation with someone in your life that you're close to and opening up about your struggles. That might be part of OCD awareness for you. But for most of us, I think one of the best things we can do is actually look within first and even go, hey, let's really get aware of how much this is impacting me. Like, what are areas that I'm actually not wanting to even look at? How do I take this and compartmentalize it in my life and say, okay, I only want to share about this. I only want to talk about this. As an OCD therapist, I can't tell you how many times I've had people, that I've worked with for weeks and weeks that finally open up about what they're really dealing with. Because again, we kind of want to keep it neat and pretty sometimes. And that's just not the nature of healing, right? It's messy sometimes. So, but again, our ability to take that step and to really get aware of everything in this aspect of our life, every what if thought that we have, every intrusive thought that we struggle with, every theme we really are afraid of, that's how we're going to heal. Every compulsion that we really do, and being transparent and authentic with ourselves and saying, hey, this really is a compulsion that I do to neutralize a fear, as opposed to, something that I tell people I just need to do. That level of awareness right there, shifting into that higher awareness of all your obsessions, all your compulsions, all your fears, that's what's going to promote real recovery. And your recovery is going to be a much better beacon of awareness to people, because they're going to see your transformation, and that's going to make people in your life really attuned to your to your transformation, and to really get aware and be like, wow, like you were here and now you're here, like what happened? And the more self-aware you become, the more you heal as an individual, and the more that light shines to the people you're close with, as opposed to telling people you're like what you're struggling with. Like, yes, there's an element to that, and I'm not saying it's not important, but real awareness comes through action, and it comes through a light that shines from you when you go through these transformations within yourself to higher levels of awareness and higher stages of evolution within yourself. And as you do that, that light starts to shine, and that's what makes more people aware of what you were struggling with and where you are, and more importantly, how you got there. So you start to have awareness on multiple levels of not only the struggle, but also the solution and what's possible with transformation. And the more we can work on awareness like that as individuals, I mean, I just think that that's going to shine a much brighter light and much more positive ripple effect into our communities and all the people that we care about. So hopefully that was helpful. And what I'm going to do also in lieu of OCD Awareness Week this week is on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, I'm going to be doing a live where I'm just going to take questions, just free Q&A. Just want to open up, and again, it'll be on all the major platforms on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter now. So please, obviously, if you want to join, just make sure we have some links down below, just so you can join our list, right? And you can download a free guide that we start everyone with on 5 rules for recovery. You can download that. You can also attend our webinar. By doing so, you'll get on the list, and we'll email out a link so you can join us live. And start getting some questions answered on this journey, because again, if this is something you struggle with, I think the message that I really want to send out is that you can get better, and you really can take your life back. And that's not just something that I'm saying, like it's real, and it really starts with awareness. Then it starts with really understanding the tools, how to apply them. And the more and more you apply them, the more transformation you're going to experience in your life. So thank you so much. I wish you guys a great week. And I hope you join us on Wednesday, in two days from now, where we're going to be doing our live. And then also I wanted to let you guys know that on October 27th, I'm going to be doing a live workshop with my good friend Christina Orlovo, who's also a licensed marriage family therapist and an OCD specialist. And we're going to be doing a workshop on taboo thoughts. And we thought that the month of October, being the spooky Halloween month, it's a perfect time to talk about taboo thoughts, because it's one of the things that most people don't want to ever talk about when it comes to OCD. So we're going to be doing a live workshop. Again, it's going to be about 3 hours. So make sure to claim your seat on that one. You can head over to restoredminds.com, and you'll see a little link at the top of our page where you can actually check that out and claim your seat, because it is going to be limited seating, and when we fill up, we are just going to close enrollment once we fill up. So thank you so much. Hope you guys have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you guys on Wednesday. All right, take care. Thank you so much for watching that video. And so if you're struggling with OCD and anxiety, I just wanted to let you know that we have a free training for you over at Restored Minds, where you can start learning how to use our AAA response to really break out of that loop and ultimately take back control of your life. And all you need to do to access is just click the little link below and you'll be taken to a page where you can register today. Thank you so much.